If you like today's podcast, be sure to hit that subscribe button and check out our first Big Helium Dog podcast via the link in the description below.
Welcome, everybody, to another Yesterday's Entertainment Tomorrow podcast. My name is Ryan McClelland. I am joined by my co-host, New York Nick Guzman. I can't mess up last names today. Matt's going to kill me. And welcome back to another Big Helium Dog podcast. This is Big Helium Dog Part 2. We're doing this via a shared universe, and we have sitting in today the co-owner of a shared universe, Ming Chen.
What's up, everybody?
Who also played in Big Helium Dog Club Patron. We are also joined today by Matt Kawczynski. Played Charlie Osgood. Did I get it? Kawczynski?
Kawczynski.
Thank you for joining us. Matt,
like a week, 2 weeks to practice that.
I fucked up, dude. Who played Charlie Osgood in the movie, Vincent Periera, who was the first AD on the film, edited it, and also played the Cigarette Fairy, and the editor, writer, director of the film, Hollywood's Brian Lynch.
It's actually pronounced Leech.
Lynch.
Welcome back, everybody. It's good to see you all. First time around, I kind of had an agenda, like I had a big list of things. Today I have a little list, but I thought we'd play it a little looser and just kind of get into some of the fun, the antics, and the stories behind Big Helium Dog. And the first thing I thought we'd start off with is Matt said he had a very interesting story about growing a beard, or maybe lack thereof.
Oh.
Yeah, well, so before we started recording, Vin came on and was like, "Hey, what do you guys think?" And Vin's got some scruff, and he's like, "I've been doing this for, I don't know, Vin, what'd you say? It's been like 4 hours." And meanwhile, I made the joke that this is 6 weeks, and then it reminded me that our first day of filming, I was supposed to try. We were doing like a Gen X grunge version of the movie. This like scene where we were wearing a bunch of I was like wearing a flannel and then tying one around my waist, and I had to grow a beard. And Brian's like, "Can you do it?" And I was like, "I think yeah, let's see." And so, how long did I try for, Brian?
The month we rehearsed, maybe a little more than that actually. It was going to be a goatee. It was going to be a goatee.
And so, Brian, day of filming, how much did you ask makeup to fill me in?
We had to almost completely fill you in. Yeah, it was crazy. It was you also had to learn how to smoke for that scene. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was weird.
Matt had never had a cigarette, so Kevin Crimmins, who was our location guy and played the little grip, who did nothing but smoke, took Matt in our backyard and was like, "All right, I'll show you how to do it." And we had smoking lessons.
I literally never tried a cigarette before.
You were better at that than you were at growing a beard, for sure.
Yeah.
But if you watch how you're holding the cigarette if you ever watch the movie again, because it's not bright. I was thinking of that scene the other day. Why did we have Laureen have facial hair too? That would have been funny.
That would have been funny.
Because we saw Matt and Mike first in the scene, and then she comes in, and it would have been like a 1, 2, 3.
It would have been hysterical.
I know. That's what's holding us back this whole time.
We can add it digitally.
Oh yeah, you need a CGI budget and just do those things like adding her beard.
Like Wooly.
we also had we had some of the little product placement we had is, you remember there was this like hemp company that sent us T-shirts and hats,
right? Yeah.
And that's the scene we all had them on. You guys had them on. I forget the name of the company, but we were real excited to get hats, free hats.
Yeah. I got to keep a Scully. I was so excited.
Actually, this is a pretty good story. Do you remember that I forget what Chris Perry's job was. I want to say he was in what did he do, Vin? Chris Perry?
I can't really remember. He mainly worked in the office, I believe, not really on the set.
Right. He told us, he's like, "Guys, I got a deal for some free food for the crew and cast if we have the characters holding like snack treats for one scene." Yeah, and we're like, "Oh, all right, for one scene, that's fine." And I don't think we ever got the snack treats. Maybe the office did. We never got them, but Chris is like, "You guys need to have it more in the movie." So we had Kevin Heffernan blatantly hold the scene, but like hold a giant bag just to get it out. And we put every single chip they wanted us to advertise like on him at that time just to get it all out of the way.
There was also, I also recall a shot of Kevin holding up a Coca-Cola or something and very obviously showing it to the camera before he took a drink. I don't know if it made the final cut, but I do remember shooting that scene.
I don't think it did, and I remember we had to at one point do a sweep of a set to make sure there wasn't product plate, like a lot of it, because we were getting like, oh, that's weird. If we're not making fun of it, we can't just have it. So
better than Wayne's World, right? I mean, like,
yeah, you can't. Wayne's World did the ultimate product placement joke. We can't top it. So
yeah.
Unless you have Charlie dressed up like a candy bar, that would have been.
Oh, that would have been nice.
Yeah.
Why didn't you do that, Matt? Why didn't you dress up like a candy bar?
Hey,
I'm sorry, I was too busy walking around in a thong.
Oh yeah. That was hysterical. I love the way that you approached that scene too. Like you just went all in, running around to everybody, being like, "Hey, look, have you seen my ass?" Like, I guess that was your way of getting comfortable. You were running around the set, pretty much anybody. Hey, hello, have you seen my ass? Like, you know, to break the tension, I suppose.
Yeah, I remember feeling super uncomfortable, and then Lynch later telling me like, Matt, you looked like you were the most comfortable you've been in this entire shoot. And like, but Vin, to your point, I think that's probably just the way I cope. Like, I just
to get yourself over being
like, all right, I'll beat everyone to it. And at one point, I remember asking Brian like, hey, because you know, if you've been on a set before, you know that there's just so many damn people around. And I remember asking Brian like, are we gonna like lower the numbers, like make this like a closed set? He's like, oh yeah, it's been done. And I remember looking around, I'm like, oh, there's still like 15 people.
I invited more people for that day. We should explain to people that may not have watched the first one or the movie that there's a scene in the movie where Matt's character switches places with a character who's a stripper because the people making the movie are incompetent. That's the joke. So Matt had to be in a stripper outfit, and the stripper was playing Matt in the scene. So that
she was great. She was so good.
She was
with
great.
a very, very thick accent.
Yeah.
You know that? Yeah. The minute she auditioned, we're like, oh well, that's it. Like we're going with that. Like that's going to be it. It worked. She was
a Brazilian.
I don't know. Sure. She was great. Laura, she was really funny.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe that Ray's dead.
And I remember she needed us to play a song from the Trainspotting soundtrack to get into character, and I forget which one it was. But
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Whatever worked, man. She was funny. She was funny.
Is that the scene that Ming is in, or is he in the first scene?
No, that is a scene. Yeah, I'm in the background in the strip club, and
Ming is in the first scene at the strip club where Laura was playing the stripper, and then Ming wasn't there for the scene where we reversed it, where Matt was playing the stripper.
Because we had to change locations. Because originally we were going to film in one strip club, and then we were shooting and we were going over, and they wanted some ridiculous amount of money to let us keep filming. So then we switched to a completely different strip club for the second scene, which is why it looks different.
And never mentioned it.
But we used the same. We used the exterior of the second strip club for both sequences because
do you remember what we were on set and you're like, Brian, do you want to use the exterior for this one and the first one? You're like, I want to use this one because they're coming through for us, and you go, also they have a sign that we can put stuff on.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, yes, we can do that. So yeah, we put Monday wet t-shirt contest, Tuesday mask. I remember that.
Yeah. That worked out perfectly.
That was fun.
The last question I had from last time I didn't get to ask, and I was dying to ask it because I know Vin loves this movie. But at one point, I forget which character. It's either Michael Ian Black or Kevin mentions Heaven's Gate with puppets. And where did that come from?
I assume it's because I would always talk about it. So Brian.
Oh yeah. There's tons of stuff in there that's just for my friends. like I remember that there's a mention of Slam Evil, which is the ad line to the Phantom, just because my friends and I thought that was the stupidest ad line in history. Like it was that like, it was for Vin for sure.
Yeah. And it's Michael Ian Black. It's at the end when he does like what happened to the characters after the movie, and he goes through explaining what happened. And the director is preparing an all puppet version of Heaven's Gate, which was funny too because of course I think it's Kevin's first scene when he's harassing Brian about puppets.
Right.
He's like, Cuckoo Fran and Ollie, they're puppets.
And it's funny because my next sale was actually a puppet script. So that worked out for everybody.
which you've been sharing. That's the stuff you've been sharing about that is fantastic.
That was fun. You know, Martin Huber is in that script too.
Oh wow.
He's in the not. I don't know if they would have cast Michael Ian Black, but at the time that was my thinking. I'm like, well, we'll just roll in the Big Helium Dog like fame and fortune and get Michael Ian Black in it. Yeah, he plays Kermit's big, like he's a news reporter, but he's also Kermit's biggest fan. Like
Kermit,
every time he sees Kermit, he can't control himself.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Let's talk some of the cast, you know, because we have, let's see, Brian Quinn, Dickie Barrett, Baba Booey himself, Gary Delabate. How was it kind of casting? I mean, Brian Quinn is put as the casting director, is he not, in the film?
Yeah.
So did he actually did a lot of the casting for the film?
Oh, for sure. He was working in Kevin's office at the time, and whenever he had time, he would he sent out all sorts of stuff to get information on people to get headshots, and we'd look at them together and we'd figure out who's right for the stuff, and he'd organize the auditions and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did a ton of work for it, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I remember it was interesting casting, the casting process on Big Helium Dog versus, you know, with A Better Place, we put a notice and hundreds of people showed up and it was, you know, kind of chaos. With Big Helium Dog, you were going through headshots and saying, okay, that person looks like they might fit that part. And that's how you found Michael Winstroth, was through the headshots. You know?
It's also well, I will say this too, and this is tell me if I'm getting facts wrong about this, but I think Ray was the hardest character to cast in the movie. The best friend, Charlie's best friend, who's kind of the straight man in the movie. He leaves halfway through the movie, but then kind of comes back for certain scenes. He was the hardest one because a lot of people were just it was playing flat, and I know that Charlie was supposed to be the funnier of the two, but Ray had a bunch of stuff that I thought was working, and it got actually to the point of where I was starting to doubt if that character was funny. And a guy came in and did Ray, but did Ray very angry. Vin, I don't know if you remember him. It was the scene where Chastity tells him she's been cheating on him. Yeah, and he did it like we were kind of afraid for Laureen in the room when he did it. But it was a thing. Like it wasn't. It was. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And I'm like, wow. But he was also like kind of mean in the room to all of us, so we didn't know if it was a choice or he was just mean.
I remember that, and I remember he was a friend of maybe Kevin's brother or something. Like,
oh, really?
Somehow he knew somebody, but it was a weird reading, and I think Michael came very shortly after that.
Michael was the next audition.
Next guy, yeah.
He was, when Michael came in, I was like, I guess it's that guy because he's the closest, but that's not going to be fun to shoot with that guy. He's not happy to see us. So Michael came in, and I remember immediately going, well, wait a minute, he looks like Zach from Saved by the Bell, and Matt looks like Screech just in the hair. I'm like, I hope this guy's funny. And then he was great. He found this really warm, like frustrated version of Ray that made us laugh out loud. And he's the nicest person in the world.
Yeah, he's the nicest human.
He really is. So the thing about auditioning for like we auditioned a million Rays was that Brian Quinn as the casting guy was there for all of it, and he would read the Vance part against Laureen as Chastity and whoever was playing Ray, auditioning for Ray. And we had Vance cast as somebody else, and the guy's super funny and great. But by the time we got to rehearsals, Brian Quinn's version of Vance was in my head because it was so happy and joyous. We gave that guy another part, and Quinn became Vance. That's how Quinn got the part, because he didn't mean to audition for Vance, but he did it 1,000 times and made us laugh every time. Because this character comes in that is basically the joke being that Chastity tells Ray she's been cheating on him, and she's like, and this is the guy I've been cheating with, and he's living with me now. I hope this isn't a big deal.
In a bathrobe.
The part was written like him going, like Vance going, like, "Hey, it's good to meet you. Hey, nice to see you. Hey, you go, Ray. That's great." And Quinn was doing it like he loved Ray, like he was like he didn't get that what he was doing was terrible, and that was the funniest take I could imagine. So like we couldn't go back from that. We couldn't.
I can't remember who was the other actor and what part did he end up playing?
It was Tom. Tom, and he's in the strip club scene.
Oh, your friend, like your friend Tom, right? The angry. He was kind of angry.
He was. It's Tom from improv. He did it. He was an improv group in Red Bank.
Oh, Tom Shields.
No, Tom Shields is who we went to high school with.
High school. Yeah, now I know. I remember. Yeah, he's in. You're right. He's actually. He's really funny in the movie, like when he was doing Vance, but he was doing Vance as I wrote it, which was super calm, and Quinn at that point hadn't made it his own. So yeah.
He reminded me of every shore bar Jersey dirtbag.
Which makes sense because he's from Staten Island.
Because I watched Impractical Jokers, 30 hours a day, at a time. But when I watched it, because I did a review on Big Helium Dog, and I'm like, who is this guy? He's great. Not realizing it was Glenn, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, he owned that. But yeah, every Jersey dirtbag was encapsulated in that performance.
Yeah.
I don't know if you notice it, but there's a scene in the movie where Quinn walks by Matt as Matt's heading into Laureen's house.
This is my favorite.
He just
keeps going.
Yeah, no, because we didn't know at what point he was supposed to turn and get off of camera. So we were like, why don't you just walk into the woods? And if you watch Matt's coverage, Vance just continues to walk away from the house into thick woods while waving at people that we don't see. So as we started doing that, we started coming with a backstory for Vance and a life beyond this movie. So it was Quinn's he's a funny dude. He's a funny dude.
What about Dickie and Gary? Like, what was it? Dickie, obviously, Mighty Mighty Boss Tones was huge at that time. The impression that I get. Gary Delabate was huge. Howard Stern was just building and building. Private Parts had to be around that time. Matt, what was it like working with him as well?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't work with Dickie, but I worked with Gary. Gary was great. He seemed like literally up for anything, which, I mean, to your point about him being huge, it's always sort of weird to get that, right? Like when somebody's like, you're like, oh, I don't think we'll get away with this sort of, and they're like, no, let's go for it. It's the coolest thing. And Gary just seemed like he's up for whatever. Like, I mean, as a director, you must have seen that, Brian. I mean,
I'll also say when we were shooting Gary, he was the second half of a day, and we were really late, so we made Gary wait, and he didn't care. He just did. He was in an abandoned bank, Vin. That's where we were hanging out, like in Red Bank, New Jersey. And he's like, okay, he's like, all right. And he came and he would, first of all, any suggestion we threw at him, he did and did it well.
Yeah.
But he was also like, the crew was so excited he was there. That character was always supposed to be the who's the guy that directed Touch of Evil? Orson Welles. That was supposed to be the Orson Welles moment in the Muppet movie when they walk in and it's that guy. Like, what's this guy doing in the Muppet movie?
Yeah.
We wanted to have someone that you're like, what? And that's who we got. And we were all such fans of his, and he definitely didn't disappoint. He was a good dude.
It's been a while since I watched the movie, but doesn't he bend over to let them sign the contract on his back?
We did, yeah. We were blocking the scene, and Kevin's like, "Do you want me to write on the desk?" And we're like, "No, just spin him over." And he's like, "Yeah, okay." Like,
he was totally cool with it, just being bent over to have him sign the contract on his back. That was funny as hell.
Great. I mean, the fact that it was, I mean, Matt and Laureen were like, anytime they were shooting, same with Mike, I knew I was fine. Like they're awesome, and we rehearsed, and it was great. But the fact that they were joined by Heffernan and Gary is just a cool little, like, I can't believe we're doing this. Like, it was great. And Dickie Barrett was the same way. We got him because somebody used to work with him that worked at the View Askew office, and they sent him the script, and he liked it. So.
Yeah, and he was perfect for that part, that voice of his. I need a goddamn male lawyer. Like, he just had that voice that worked so perfectly in that role.
He was I think the only person that I rehearsed with over the phone because he was on tour.
Yeah.
So I read her part and he read his part, and it was great. Like, I'm like, oh, like Vin said, his voice is. First of all, I don't know why he hasn't been in an animated movie because it's. Perfect. But and he was great, and he was great with the crew and cast. And I'm like, well, hey, can we use a song in the movie at Mighty Mighty Boston's? He's like, yeah, you can. I'm like, can you write a song called Big Helium Dog? He's like, no, you can't do that. So, but he was super nice. I ran into him maybe 5 or 6 years after that, and he was super nice again. Like, he's a great guy.
We gave them some product placement, right? Didn't we have in my bedroom or something, like a poster?
There were Mighty Mighty Boston's posters for sure. Yeah. That was pretty cool. Yeah.
He attributes that voice to, I think, cigarettes and Jack Daniels.
That's what I have to do to get it? All right.
Yeah.
All I have to do is learn how to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
And take up drinking.
But it was kind of funny that you couldn't smoke, like, because your character can't really do much of anything in the movie, so it was kind of, you were even holding it wrong. That was the very first thing we ever shot, right? It was the coffee house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember,
And then I had to go
remember
shave the beard that I didn't have.
that morning was like so weird. I'm sorry to get off subject, but it was so weird to walk from the abandoned bank that was our crew holding and walk to the coffee house and then see you guys in costume walk down the street towards me. It was weird. It was very strange. It was a very strange, oh, this is happening moment. Like this is, it was great. What a fun time.
Do you think that Charlie gets smarter as the film progresses? Like the third act, like Charlie kind of gets some wits about him? Do you think that's fair?
He has to, or the movie just keeps going, I think. Yeah, I think he definitely does. And I think there's a line in it that drives that point home that wasn't in the script. It was when we were rehearsing. Brian Strang, who was our second AD and who's in the movie and who was there every day helping, he said when we were doing the scene, Kevin Heffernan's character goes, "You tricked me," and I forget and your line was originally like, "What?" Oh no, your line was "I'm Charlie Osgood. It's what I do," right?
Yeah. But you changed it to just
yeah, to what? Yeah, but it's coming off of, and that was supposed to be the moment where you showed that you weren't as dumb as you thought we thought you were. But it didn't work because you were pretty dumb all throughout the movie. But that whole scene is the moment of triumph where he has you are now basking in the fact that you had one good idea.
Yeah.
Let's talk some anecdotes. Let's talk some stories. Let's talk some Blu-ray behind the scenes DVD features. What are some of the fine moments from this film that you look back on fondly?
Okay. Well, should I go? Should I go? The last day of filming, we were shooting at the pier where Michael Black comes and Laureen and Matt and the fire and whatnot. And we had moved to another scene where Charlie wakes up after Ray kills himself. And we got calls that the pier was on fire.
Do you remember that? I remember that.
I remember
what had happened was, it wasn't the fire we made. It was a cigarette from one of the crew that wasn't disposed of properly, had started a small fire on the pier.
Oh, wow.
And there were fire trucks and police cars, and they got there very quickly, and it's fine. But if they hadn't, the very last day of filming of this small movie would have taken down, like, the coast on Red Bank. Like, I wasn't ready for it. I was shocked. I was like, oh, it was such a fun shoot, and we're ending it by maybe killing people? That's all.
Destroying half of Red Bank?
It fits in the movie, though.
It does. It's a good ending that we just take out the town. What about you, Matt? What do you got?
I don't know. The whole thing was such a learning experience for me. I mean, I felt like I was walking, like, especially looking back, I was like, man, I was walking among giants and didn't realize it. But I tried to, like, as far as I remember, I tried to be, like, present and figure out the process and sort of learn from it. Cause I mean, you know, I was in college and I knew nothing about, like, hitting your mark, finding your, you know, all, like,
my lines. Yeah.
So, I was doing plays, like, memorize your lines. Got it. Like, I remember going in like, and I would try to ask questions when I felt like it was okay to ask. And I usually would probably ask Brian because I was too nervous to, like, ask other people. But I remember asking Brian at one point, like, hey, what's Rich do? Because Rich Periera was our producer. And because I had a really early call time. I think we were shooting the bowling alley that day.
Oh, that would have been the day yeah.
And so we had a super early call time. And I think I was the only person there. And besides Rich, and Rich was like I walk into, like, the police station where, like, and he was, like, on a phone and, like, holding another phone, like, burning in his mouth, and, like, an ashtray full of cigarettes and probably a second cigarette lit. And he looked like he was dealing with, like, way too much, and it was, like, stressed, and it was probably 5 a.m. And I remember looking at Rich, like, walking in, seeing him, just being like, what? And so later, I'm like, Brian, what's Rich do? And he's like, oh, he's our producer. I'm like, cool. He goes, why? I go, I never want to be a producer. But yeah, I mean, as a whole, I think the movie was just, I mean, I was like, again, I was still in college. I was learning. It felt surreal then, and, you know, almost surreal now looking back on it. Like, holy cow, it was green.
It doesn't feel that long ago to me.
No,
it really doesn't. Like, I watch it and I'm like, first of all, you guys haven't aged, so there's that. But, like, I remember every moment of the shoot, and it's really something. we also rehearsed that movie within an inch of its life. Like we had to because of the shooting schedule. Basically, I don't know if you guys remember. This is the first day of shooting. We shot all the Gen X stuff that's not Michael Black's. So it's Matt and Mike in the house with the grandma saying "get a job." Then it goes to the coffee house. All that stuff, all the coverage for that. Then we shot Kevin Heffernan meeting Charlie for the first time. Yeah. And then we shot the grandparent sequence, clapper scene, including all the cutaways when the grandpas and the grandma come in later, like when she talks about having sex with Chastity and stuff. So like, I forget how many, was it 9 pages the first day?
Something like that. It was a lot.
And we were like, if we do it, we're gonna be gold. And we got it. And from then on, it was like, okay, we're good. We can do this. It was 17 days to shoot a sketch comedy. It was a very,
and multiple locations. It's not like it was all in one space. We kept moving around, you know. And we would we would think on our feet too. Like we were. It started raining at the end of shooting Michael's stuff, and it was like, well, what are we going to do? It's like, well, the only thing we have left is him introducing the Gen X scene. Well, it makes sense that he might do that at the coffee shop. So we went there and they let us film, and we shot his final.
They let us film there while the coffee shop was open.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was like there were customers that were talking like right near him as we were shooting in the corner like this.
Yeah.
Michael Black was another one that we were so lucky to get. Is his brother is friends with one of the producers of the movie, and we sent him the script, and he was wonderful. I went to New York to meet him, and I said all the wrong things because I was a fan of The State and Viva Variety. And I was like, hey, your CBS special, that was great. He's like, yeah, that's what got us canceled. I'm like, oh, God, okay. I'm like, hey, did you read that article in details about the CBS exec that talked about it? And he said that real racist thing. At least you got that guy fired. He's like, yeah, I'd prefer to have a TV show on the air. But I guess I'm like, oh, my God, he's never going to want to talk to us again. This is the worst. But he was fine, and it was great. And we went back. Laureen and I went back to his house, his apartment, to rehearse with him the week before filming. And he's got nothing but monologues. It's like, you know, big chunks on the script like that. Vin, did you go too?
I went, yeah.
Okay, so it was great. It was like I remember we went to Kim's Underground Video, and then we went to Michael. And Michael wasn't ready. He wasn't off book, and he needed to be because it's speeches. And so it's like a half hour of him kind of trying to find his way. And I go, Michael, you know what? I know you're going to get it. We have 2 or 3 weeks. I've seen you do this kind of thing. Let's just go home. Let's not waste your time. We're going to go home. And he's like, oh, okay. So we left, and I went to the basement, and somebody else came over, and we started rehearsing in the basement on Saturday because we didn't want to waste the day. And Michael Black called my house. And the basement, by the way, is where I got to, in my parents' house, where I got to rehearse. It sounds like it's like a secret room or something, but they go to the basement. He called, and he's like, hey, am I fired? And I'm like, why? And he's like, because you just stopped rehearsing with me after a half hour. I'm sorry, I wasn't ready. I swear I can get ready. I don't mean to. And I'm like, Michael, you're one of the only famous people in this movie. I can't fire you. And I go, you're good. You're going to get it. Relax. It's fine. And he's like, oh, cool. Okay. I just didn't want you to be mad at me. And he hung up. And then he came, and he literally just gave monologues all day, and they were perfect. He never did a bad take. In fact, the one take where he messed up a little is when he's clearing his throat trying to talk. And that's the first shot in the movie where he talks. Yeah. And he was shocked that I used that moment.
It worked perfectly. That little cough, clearing his throat.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this before. I love the fact that we stumble out of the gate in our movie. I love it. I love it. I love that we're like, check out our movie. This guy messes up 10 seconds into the movie.
Oh, man.
We know there was some stuff cut out. We talked about this on the first podcast. A lot of stuff with like Jay Chatterhaskar with like a whole TV set. We talked about Ernie O'Donnell, who was also cut out. Is there any other? What was cut out of Big Helium Dog? Like, I know in the movie you talk about it being 6.5 hours, but in all seriousness, like what was left on the cutting room floor?
It was.
Go ahead.
There were a lot of it was trims, like sequences. I remember during the sequence where Ray finds out Chastity's been cheating on him. There were a lot of pregnant pauses that I always thought were funny, but they just didn't quite play, and a lot of those were taken out. As far as whole sequences go, it's really that talk show sequence is really the main one, and we also had to lose Jay Chandrasekhar from the end of the film because it didn't make any sense. Like
for him to come in,
yeah, like his character suddenly came in and was talking to, and I think Scott Mosier was in this scene too. Like he comes in to talk to the director, and Michael Ian Black, and Scott Mosier is there, and there's a whole bit there. The other thing I remember is there was an improvised bit. Now the movie ends with Michael Ian Black literally saying what happened to all the characters. Originally, there was this thing when he's like, I don't know, he's like, they opened a boutique that sells combs, a hair and comb boutique. Like that was it. Like literally every character in the film just got together and opened a boutique. Like instead of giving the list of all the things they did, I always thought that was pretty funny.
Not only is that funny, he ad-libbed that on set, and I remember talking to you and him about it and going, "Do we just try to get everyone back to in one room to open a boutique at the end, like over the credits, so we can just use it?" I will say this too, Matt. I don't know if you remember this. There was the moment in the movie when Chastity tells Charlie Ray is dead and he doesn't get it.
Oh yeah.
So she has to show him pictures, like picture clues to figure out. And then at the end, he accidentally figures it out just because of something she says. And it was a funny moment, but I think it peaked when it was the picture clues. Yeah. So we cut a huge chunk of it.
Do you remember what the line was, Brian?
I'm gonna go get a sandwich.
Oh yeah. But the funny thing was, she says, "Forget it, you're an idiot. I'm gonna go get it," and he actually agrees. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Yeah, I remember cutting that, and she goes, "I'm gonna go get a sandwich," and then he goes, "Wait a minute, Ray's dead." She's like, "I said I'm gonna go get a sandwich." He's like, "Ray's dead." She's like, "I'm gonna go get Ray a sandwich. Is dead." She's like, "Yes, Charlie, Ray's dead." And he goes, "And you're gonna get a sandwich at a time like this?" That was it. But the funny thing is that during the scene with his grandparents, he goes, I don't know if you heard, but Chastity went to go get a sandwich. And the grandparents go, "Ray is dead." That line is still in the film.
You know what's funny about that too is when I show that to people, they like that line even without the setup. My first trip out to LA ever, I got lunch with Jason Lee. And he's like, "Can I watch the movie?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I had a VHS of it because I carry it everywhere, I guess. And we watched it in his apartment. And when we got to that line, he turned around with a huge smile on his face. He goes, "You're fucked up." Like, it was awesome. There was a lot of stuff in the script that was taken out. I talked about last time about how Charlie had a girlfriend for a couple drafts that we took out. But I remember there was one scene that Martin Huber introduced. I don't know if you remember this, Vin, where he talked about
the Power Rangers.
The Power Ranger scene,
yeah.
Which is I don't remember the setup for it. It was he was producing Quentin Tarantino's gritty reboot of the Power Rangers, and it was the exact scene from Reservoir Dogs, where he's like, "You're the pink one, you're the red one, you're the black one." But it was the big floaty face. I forget what that's called on Power Rangers. Ming, what's that called?
Is that Zordon?
Zordon, right? And Zordon's like, "You're the Pink Ranger." He's like, "Why am I the Pink Ranger?" Because you're a fucking pussy. Like that whole thing. So like that was, and then they have one of Rita Repulsa's characters tied to a chair, and they're cutting off his big demon ear, like in the movie. Like, and it was really funny. And it was like, "Oh, we're never filming this. We can't afford this." But I would like to. I guess I'm not going to do that now that I've mentioned on this, but it's still a funny idea.
Yeah, the Power Rangers, the Reservoir Dogs reboot.
There was also the moment, I don't know if it was in this one. I remember Kevin hated it, but Vin, you really liked it, where Charlie, it's a Christmas scene, and Charlie goes up to his bed to sleep, and he hears someone in the house, and it's Santa, and he thinks he's an intruder. So he has to get in this like brutal, bloody fight with each other. Yeah. And I remember Kevin going, "Well, how stupid is he, though? Like, if he's putting up a Christmas tree and then he's mad that Santa's there." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, that's a good point. That's a good point." Yeah.
Oh, man.
I don't know. Seeing Matt beat up Santa would have been a highlight.
Right? Between you and me, Ryan, it was, it's in the sequel. That whole sequence is in the sequel, so. And so is Halloween, where Matt has to walk down the street all scared of everybody because he doesn't quite realize.
Oh, he doesn't realize that he thinks they're all real demons.
Yeah. It's just a cutaway where he's just like this, like all like looking. Yeah.
Matt, would you come back for a sequel?
Oh my God! I mean, I'm too sure. I don't know how you write a sequel for this kind of thing, but Brian's good, right? We can figure it out. You're good. You figured out.
I've written a sequel.
He's written 2.
But I'm older.
You don't look older.
The character's so much fun. I mean, we talked about it a bit in the first episode of this. I mean, back when we first met, I mean, I just thought it was the funniest script ever. I mean, the style of comedy like speaks to my heart. So yeah, I mean, this is like I love this character. We shot everything I've worked on with Brian. I feel like I get to have like a touch of that maybe.
I don't know. I think Angry Naked Pat, you're the only smart character in that. So I got to change it a little bit. That character is really fun, and it's a hard character. I remember Bob Hawke reading the script and saying, "You're going to have to get someone Jim level. Who the fuck's Jim level? But you have to get Jim level. You have to get Jim Carrey level talented to pull this guy off because of all the weird changes he goes through." And I go, "That's the plan, to get someone Jim Carrey level." Yeah. And we did. I mean, we did for sure. He dropped out and we got Matt, but
But do you think in the realm of possibility, do you ever think especially with all these different media outlets out there now, from Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, and you think it could actually be a possibility somewhere down the line?
I think it would be. I would do it just to work with everyone again. I think so. I think it would be fun to kind of maybe even package it with the first one. Do you know what I mean? Like, here's this one and then that one. Did I tell you guys about the idea I had for the show recently, Matt? I know I told you the joke, right? Where I was thinking, like, well, if everybody is like, Mike Lindstrath lives out of state now, and like, if everybody can't be here to film, maybe an animated version would be really funny, like an adult animated version. And I remember the opening joke being. Do you remember this, Matt? I don't know. It's not funny when I say it. It would be funny if we do it, but I'll say it anyway. Where Michael Ian Black is like, we're here and we're ready to make you laugh, and it's a huge musical number that's super happy about how we're going to do nothing but tell jokes and make you laugh. And then Michael Black and all the characters are there from the movie or the cartoon, and Michael's like, and now let's start the comedy, and they go, and every single character is afraid to make a joke because they don't want to get in trouble. Oh. Like they're just like, you want to go, you should go. You're the funny one, like that.
Yeah, I think you're.
Yeah. So yes, I would love to work with everyone again. Everybody, it's a sequel would be really weird to a movie that literally, I think everyone who saw this movie is in this chat right now. So,
but the idea of packaging it with the original is really kind of an interesting idea.
It's a great thing. What's interesting too about it is there's a lot of possibility for sure, and it helps that Matt, Michael, and Laureen look the exact same. That might be fun. I mean, so does Heffernan. Kevin Kevin looks different, but only because he looks better, and Michael Black looks the same.
Yeah. I mean, I'll hit the gym and come back as the cigarette fairy. So
yeah,
I've been looking for an excuse to start going again anyway. So
you were built, Vin. You're definitely like a terrifying between your character in A Better Place and Big Helium Dog. Like, you're a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. I used to hit the gym a lot back then. Lift weights at home. Got to start again.
I was watching today the A Better Place extra, the Big Helium Dog trailer.
The trailer.
Like, what is going on with this trailer? Like, it is
okay. Well, it's originally we thought the movie was going to come out I think the next year, but it was really just an excuse to get a lot of people back. I maintain. I don't know. Have you seen Profiles in Courage? Have you seen that thing we did where it's a fake documentary about the making of Big Helium Dog and an update as to what everyone's doing? I think it's funnier than Big Helium Dog. In 25 minutes, I think it's funnier. It's way more offensive, Matt. By the way, if you haven't watched this, like
I haven't watched it in a while, but I believe
we go weird places. Like when people started cracking down on like, this isn't funny, this isn't politically incorrect, I just took it down off Funny or Die. I'm like, oh no,
really?
But the whatever happened to Big Helium Dog is what you're talking about in the Better Place disc,
right?
And this short. We're really just an excuse to work with everyone again. And it was a plan originally was every 5 years to do something Big Helium Dog related. And it's how long has it been now, Matt? It's been over 10, right?
Yeah.
I never saw that video. Can you send me a link or?
I don't have it's not up anymore.
No,
It's not.
You don't,
No,
you don't even have a copy.
No.
It's just gone.
It's good though. I remember it's you, Matt, Mike, Laureen, Bart Nickerson plays me.
Kevin Schmidt, like the scene with him and
we can't.
Oh my god!
There's
It's
a whole
so good.
whole parody of. Do you guys remember the movie Fame?
Yeah.
You remember where Coco has to be shirtless and she cries during her audition? We reenact that, but with Matt and his audition. Like it's, I don't know, man. I was going through some stuff maybe, but like
I never knew it existed.
it's real. It's very funny and it's really weird. It's a really I'll see if I can find it, but yeah. We also whenever we got somebody to shoot that stuff, we got them to also shoot Easter eggs. So if somebody clicks on the wrong thing on a disc, we have the characters congratulating them on finding it.
Oh wow.
I don't know where that stuff is. I don't know. I have no idea where that is. But yeah, no. That short was a chance to just to get a little bit of Big Helium Dog stuff out there and to put something on Vin's disc because we were so proud of that thing. That was fun.
That was fun.
Like
Yeah.
there's a character who looks like Matt, but it's not Matt, and he's talking in about Big Helium Dog, and I'm just again watching it, and there's like a character who's Harvey Weinstein. It's this big gluttonous guy, and
Nick playing Harvey Weinstein was hysterical, and he's like sitting in front of a roaring fire and just doing that voice. But I also thought it was really funny in that trailer how first it's the lady in the basement talking about how they'd put the film out if he added Asian women being gutted, and everyone's horrified by that. And then it's Harvey Weinstein saying, "I'll put it out if he puts Freddie Prinze Jr. in it," and they're even more horrified by that. Like that's even more offensive apparently. But that was a very funny little trailer.
Yeah, that was fun, and it was it's just I'm very lucky to work with these people. They're funny. I think it was Eric Grissom was in the
Yeah, he played me.
That was
because
he was very Matt Kawczynski-y, right?
Yeah, because the idea was that you got to be too successful to be my friend anymore, so you hired this person to be me. Like he literally introduces himself as Vinny Peruna, and he made a film.
That's right.
He's like, I made a film called a better place or something, like, you know, and he's lifting weights. And,
no, he made a movie called Another Place.
Another Place.
Hey, Vinny Peruni.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I have a cell phone. He's all excited. Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, Matt, we should do it. You're far away though now, and I guess Laureen's in town, but
yeah.
But
you know what we'll do is let's do a Zoom sketch.
We could. That would always work.
This is the perfect time to do it. The quarantined Big Helium Dog sketch. If Parks and Rec can do it, Big Helium Dog can do it. God damn it!
Yeah.
We'd have to explain what Big Helium Dog is, but that was another joke I wanted to do in the show. If it was for a streaming service, see, I'm already thinking too much about this thing that's never going to happen. But Michael Ian Black would go. We were arguing about whether or not we should show all the episodes, drop them all in one day, or one every week. And he's like, in fact, we're so confident in this, we're just going to drop them all right now. And it was going to be a screen of 8 different screens just showing all the episodes at once.
At the same time.
Yeah, at the same time. Yeah, it would be fun.
That's funny.
Fun. Yeah.
How many screenplays did Martin Huber pop up for?
Ooh, this is good. Big Helium Dog Beyond Thunderdome, Big Helium Dog 3, I'm Martin Huber, the next Muppet movie. That might be it. Yeah, that's it. 5. So far. 5 so far.
Yeah.
You ever think of writing a Martin Huber-esque character into a animated cartoon?
You know, I did. I write stuff for like with Michael in mind a lot because it's always funny. It's always easier to write for voices that you know and are going to be funny. And it's just a matter of I don't direct the stuff I write, so I don't. It goes out to other people. But the one short that I did direct on the Minions Blu-ray, I co-directed it with my friend Fabrice, and it's Michael Keaton, Allison Janney, Tara Strong, and Matt Kawczynski because I got to cast that one. So Matt is working with those guys. So like I would love to put a Martin Huber type character. That kind of character is so fun to write. And you find out that like in Big Helium Dog, he's very with it and one step ahead of everyone else. But when you learn more about him, he's actually more messed up than everyone else, which is kind of a fun thing to do too.
So Ming, last time we got to talk about favorite scenes in the film.
Yeah.
What is your favorite scene from Big Helium Dog?
I I might have to go with my own since it's set up. Because we shot that I think summer '97, right? And then a few short months later, I returned in a strip club scene in Dogma. So I got to think that Kevin saw that and he was like, "Dude, that's the guy right there."
The perfect strip club patron. Yeah.
Yeah, an Asian in a strip club, that never happens, right?
Oh, jeez.
That whole strip club scene came about as a result of two of my friends from college going, let's go to a strip club. And I'm like, oh, God, no, okay. Like, I went, and it was for the first time, I swear for the first time. And I noticed that all the strippers acted like everyone's best friend. And I was like, oh, that's sad that those guys think that they like them. And then a stripper came up to me and she's like, hi. And I'm like, this one really likes me. This is really like, so that's wow. Literally it came about. And the next day I wrote that whole opening for sure. Yeah. In the strip club, I had that experience and I shot it. Yeah. And I've never been back to a strip club since. My bachelor party was at fucking SeaWorld. So
that sounds like bachelor party ever. Yeah. Matt has some good lines in there in the strip club when he's like, you know, if she likes me, but like not in that way, and he's just going on and on with the other stripper. How'd you get Blanchard Ryan?
She knew the Super Troopers guys, right?
Yeah,
right.
She knew Broken Lizard. Yeah,
she was good friends with specifically with Rich, I believe.
Yeah,
she was a friend with Rich and his wife.
She was so funny. I remember on the day of shooting, she's like, "Can I be in like a nice sundress?" And I'm like, "What? I don't want to be this guy." And you're playing a stripper. Yeah, it was rough. Because the funnier that scene was, is for me, you needed Charlie to be the most wide-eyed innocent and everything else around him to not be innocent at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it had to be like, I'm sorry. So I think she's wearing a bathing suit, like instead of I feel terrible. That's why I don't write strip club scenes anymore. Because if anyone's naked in my movie, it's Minions, because I'm not making people be naked in my movies. No.
Well, nobody was actually naked in the strip club. Everybody was wearing there was no actual nudity in Big Helium Dog.
Well, I was naked most of the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you were directing.
Yeah, I was right behind naked. There was supposed to be I won't share that. There was supposed to be a partial nudity in the movie, and I was dating the girl that was supposed to be partially naked. So I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like I can't. And luckily, she was like, "You can't do this." So I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah. So it worked. It all worked out.
She's gone on to such big things. Laureen.
So what? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, she's great.
I just saw Hustlers, and I've never been more in awe of Jennifer Lopez's butt ever. Talk about in the thong. No offense, Matt. You have a nice ass in the thong, but Jennifer Lopez in that movie was
Laureen was pretty incredible before she was in Big Helium Dog. Like she was like she was like 18 and she's like, will you come to this play I wrote in Red Bank that she rented the theater, she cast her friend, she wrote, she directed, and who did Glengarry Glen Ross? Who's the writer? It was Mamet-esque. But written, she wrote it when she was 16, put it on when she was 18 with her friends in her comedy group, and then like she was always like that. She put on plays like for the longest time. She wrote so many movies while we were hanging out and like after we hung out. It's incrediady the work ethic she has.
Yeah,
and the talent. I mean, it's crazy. I remember when I started dating the lady who's my wife now. She was at MTV, and Laureen's like, "Look, there's this project there that I really want. Could we all go to lunch?" And so at least, she knows me. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And we went and they got along so well. And she actually wound up getting that too. So that, I don't know. It's cool. Like they didn't make the movie, but she's great in a room and she's a super talented writer and director.
Yeah.
She's doing an animated movie now. She's writing and I believe writing songs for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So let's see. An hour and 50 minutes with these combined. This is probably longer than Big Helium Dog, the movie itself. So as we're wrapping up with the last 10 minutes, is there any kind of like other anecdotes that we want to bring out, for those people out there who are just thirsting for any kind of information on the film?
I don't recall if I talked about this last time, but I do remember that we talk about how easygoing the actors were, but they were also very serious about what they were doing. And one moment in particular was Michael Lindstroth. When he was getting ready to shoot his suicide scene. And I remember he really just kind of wanted to sit there and get in character and in the moment, you know, because it's a comedy, but that's still kind of a serious thing to play. And one of our friends, Brian Strang, who's come up earlier, he was kind of teasing Michael. Like, you know, like Michael was just sitting there trying to be serious. And I just had to kind of pull Brian aside and be like, yeah, I know you're just trying to be funny, but actors sometimes just got to do their thing, like just kind of let him do his thing. And Michael thanked me after that. He was like, "Thank you, Vin. I kind of needed to be left alone." And I was like, "No worries, man. You know." And I didn't do it. What was that?
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
I mean, like I didn't, and I wasn't like, you know, Strang, you fucking asshole. You know, I was very like, dude, just kind of leave him alone, let him do his thing. You know, like.
The amazing thing too about Michael is that for a movie that's that broad and silly, he had like a journal from Ray's point of view, detailing every, like, why am I friends with Charlie? Like essays. Why am I dating Chastity? Like all the reasons he was dating her. Like and he would like listen to stuff that he had recorded in headphones to get him in the mood, or music to get him in the mood.
Yeah.
It was incredible to watch. It was really cool. Yeah, Matt, you should have done that because you didn't do any of that. No, you didn't.
Ian Bailey did that in a better place too. You remember he had a diary. Like I remember he came up to me one day and he was like, he told me the story of Ryan's 10th birthday party or something, and I was like, I didn't even think of that, but he had this whole thing written out, and I was like, that's awesome, dude. Like, yeah.
Can that be the prequel?
But yeah, it's just going to literally be Ryan's birthday, the movie, 90 minutes long.
It's all happy.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you remember, Matt, that you haven't shared? I'm trying to think of. Oh well, do you remember the day we had to rehearse with your grandma and grandpa? And that guy Norm Anderson is an amazing guy, but he was very old at the time, and we were making him drop to his knees. Faking a heart attack.
Yeah.
And you start feeling terrible, like you're making this. I mean, super funny, but like also very silly thing, and you're like, I'm sorry that we're asking you to like keep falling to your knees.
Do you remember he goes, I can do a better job. You need to get me caffeine right now, and I didn't have any in the house, so I went and I found caffeine-free Diet Coke, and I put it in a glass and put ice in. I go, here's caffeine. It's not caffeine-free. Like so defensive. Like here, and he drank it. He's like, oh, I'm better, and I'm like, okay, great, cool. And then the day we were shooting, the first day we were shooting, we did it at Brian Strang's house. And he asked permission of his mom, but he didn't go into detail as to what we're shooting. And in one day, we smoked in our house, like chimneys, and then had the old lady, like, just drop water everywhere in her house.
Like a lot of water.
A ton of water.
Because it was like a funnel that like went behind her.
It was a funnel behind her dress. And if you listen to the movie as you're walking out of the room, you can hear the squish. It's not, that wasn't added later. That was literally because the carpeting got so soaked.
Yeah.
But that was just the spirit of it. Is Norm got it, she got it. Like I remember the first day of filming, that's who I ate dinner with was your grandma after it was done. Like she's like, this was fun. I'm like, oh good. I don't want to mess things up. Like, okay, good. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so great. Like, I mean, I keep saying it, but it's just so awesome when you see people sort of get it, you know, because it is like it's a different kind of comedy. And I don't know. I've always assumed that a thing like that, like people just get it and they go, oh, like any actor, you give that script to an actor, they go, yeah, I get the tone, I'd be able to do it, right. I understand it. But it's clearly not the case. I mean, when you have that guy come in and read as Ray and he was angry, it's like, that's not.
Yeah. Right. And then angry at us, no less, as well. Yeah.
Yeah, just generally angry, yeah.
I wonder if that guy became super famous.
Right, probably.
That reminds me of the Kevin. You might have seen this tape. The one dude that auditioned for TS in Mallrats, who did it like the darkest, angriest thing. Kevin kept that tape because he's like, this guy's brilliant, but he's auditioning for the wrong film. He just didn't get it. It was so bizarre. It's one of the craziest things ever.
Dark, angry TS.
Oh yeah. It was insane. Yeah. It was really, really. It's like scary. It was like, yeah. It was scary.
It was a good time.
Nick, you got anything?
I've just been absorbing and just enjoying the whole conversation, honestly.
This has been great. So we're coming up. I'm just gonna wrap up. I'm gonna thank everyone for once again taking time out of your Armageddon to come on the podcast. It's been great. So Brian, Matt, Vinny, thank you so much. Ming, once again from Shared Universe. You want to learn anything about podcasting, where to go, how to do it, shareduniverse.com. That's correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And Vin, hopefully we'll get up soon to have Vin and Brian back for a better place.
Yeah.
So I'll bet
I can't
come up
wait,
soon as well. So.
You're not invited,
like
Matt.
Yeah.
You're not invited.
Yeah.
I'll be in your office.
Matt, we'll do the Mancation episode someday. That, oh my God, that would be heaven for me. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for tuning in for yesterday's Entertainment Tomorrow podcast. I'm Ryan. It's New York Nick Guzman, and tune in next time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Wash your hands.
Thanks for tuning into this yesterday's Entertainment Tomorrow podcast, and be sure to check out our first Big Helium Dog podcast and our podcast with the cast of Clerks via the links in the description below.
Wow, that guy's stupid.